Welcome back to Let's Play Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. Last time we kicked Dragon's ass and wiped out uh pretty much everything. Wow, I worded that so incorrectly. Basically what I'm trying to say is that we basically mopped the floor with Meridia and cleaned up all of its expansions and upgrades. And today we're gonna take the fight to Ridley and get the baby Metroid back, damn it. It's gonna be tense. It's gonna be ferocious. It's gonna be the vengeance we need. And funny enough, though, when I first came into Super Metroid, I never realized up until then that like the theme heard in Mangmore Caverns was actually like a remix of this track. And it certainly doesn't help that like literally every other remix of this song or whatever, including the one heard in Samus Returns, refers to this track as Mangmore Caverns. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, go look at the soundtrack listing for Samus Returns. Hell, like the music CD that comes with the game, and they refer to the remix as Mangmore Caverns when obviously like this game was the one that originated the track. So, yay. That's a little bit of trivia, I guess, but personally, speaking though, I prefer this theme, this iteration of the theme the most, though, for reasons I'm going to be getting into in a bit. First, before we do so, let's go ahead and take care of this mini-boss, which I think is a pretty awesome one at that. I'm not restarting the video for that. Fuck you. Anywho, this is literally the same thing we fought at the beginning of the game, and I don't know how to interpret this. The way that developers had this laid out in front of us, but the way I like to see it is that, well, obviously this was the first boss we fought in the game, and it was quite a total pushover at that. So I'm guessing by this point, what the developers had intended is that they're like, okay, you know that surprise factor we kind of had going for this thing in particular? Let's bring that back, but in kind of a different fashion, you know? Because, like, the first one showed you that you can't just trust getting any upgrade you get. And then seeing this, it's like, oh shit, you're back? And then it has all these crazy kamikaze attacks, and it's like, the biggest thing is that it just takes your super missiles and launches them at you. It's glorious. I love subtle details like that because it tells you just how much of a formidable threat this thing actually is. Because not even like Mother Brain or Ridley can, you know, pull off something like that, you know? This right here is telling you, okay, you thought you knew everything we had to like show you, right? So now that you're all decked out and shit and you're coming towards the end of the game, we're gonna throw you this thing yet again, and we want to test you and see just how well you've sufficed through the entirety of Super Metroid. And to me, that's what makes the last Chorizo statue fight a great addition to this game. Like, you have to look at these fights not so much from a strategic standpoint, but just like the kind of narrative tool they add to the story, you know? And that's kind of the same reason I love the Mother Brain final boss. Like, it may not be terribly complex, but the way these fights kind of tell a story in itself just goes to show that this kind of narrative tool, the show don't tell, the what's the word I'm looking for? The fact that you know you don't have to speak to show like just how grand and spectacular something is. This is what Metroid succeeds in, and what a lot of games I feel like don't quite nail as well as they should, you know? Like, great, like big convoluted plots are great and all, but like to the effect that it's shown in Super Metroid, but through subtle context, it's like not much can beat that, you know? All right, I'm back. So, as I was saying, what I wanted to talk about is why I prefer this remix over the other variants of you know, the Magmore Cavern theme or whatever you'd like to call it, I guess. Oh god, now I'm doing it. So, I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of the remixes, honestly. They're too slow for my taste. God dang it, my mic is like so out of place. Let me fix it. Okay. Now that the issue is resolved, I guess. Okay, so let's go back to talking about the remix or whatever. I'm gonna head back and get that expansion, so I guess I'll use this time to do some storytelling, I guess. With the Magmore Cavern theme, it's too slow, and while it sets like the atmosphere in place in Metroid Prime, I never really get any sort of emotional attachment in the way that this remix provides. Like, the way this song plays out in pace, it definitely gives like a feeling of tension. Like, it's basically telling the player that you've worked up to this point to finally face Ridley and get back to Baby Metroid. And the area is a lot more streamlined in design too, if you couldn't already tell. Like, the only really big diverging path here is to the screw attack. You have nothing left in between you and Ridley besides a few enemies and obstacles. It is a straight up point A to point B affair, and you're about ready to go and kick Ridley's ass. No excuses. So, the way this song plays up as a build up to that definitely blows Magmore Caverns like remix of it like out of the water for me. And why no other remix of this track does it justice is just beyond me. Like, I'm not saying the Magmore Cavern remix is bad, but like, ugh, this variant of it just doesn't get enough love. But yeah, I love this track. Super Metroid in general just has really good music overall. I will say though, as much as I enjoy Super Metroid's soundtrack, it's not my favorite OST in the series. It's great, don't get me wrong, but I'd have to go out on a limb and say I enjoy Prime 2's soundtrack the most in the series. Maybe Prime 1's a little bit more. I'm not sure if I want to say that yet, but I know for a fact I definitely prefer Prime 2's soundtrack over... Oh wow, that was kind of weird. I would definitely say I prefer Prime 2's soundtrack the most in the series, but I'll save that said discussion for when we start Let's Playing Metroid Prime 2 in the somewhat distant future, I suppose. Also, I don't think I meant to do that. I think what I was supposed to do was I was supposed to jump away from those pit blocks after grabbing the missile expansion and just going back from the route I came from. But I am on complete and total autopilot right now, so I didn't really pay that any regard. I don't know, it's like when you've played this game so many times, you start going on autopilot. You just kind of play the game in the way you know it. Unless you're told otherwise, or you hear of different paths, or you happen to break away from the autopilot and just like try out new things, I guess, which admittedly was something I did a lot when I was younger. Nowadays, it's like Whenever I pick up a new game, I'm not gonna lie, I invest some time into it, I play the game, and maybe do the post game if I'm interested, and then not much else. I simply just don't have the time for video games like I did when I was younger anymore. Well, not even that, just the passion, really. Sometimes I wish I was younger again, because I'd like to go back and ask myself, like, what I loved about video games more back then than I do now. Feels like I spend more time watching people play games than I do actually playing them. Oh my lord. Man, do I feel like I really missed a lot of energy tanks. I'm hoping not too many. I know I need to grab a few in Brintstar, but I'm not sure how many energy tanks I have left to get in Norfair exactly. And, screw it. If the video goes beyond 20 minutes, I want to at least, like, beat up Ridley before finishing off this video. Oh god. These bird-like enemies are a bit tankier than I remember. Alright, so I do believe... I feel like I'm starting to run out of things to say. I feel like I've already kind of said my 2 cents on the track and the area itself in question, so... God dang it. I didn't think I'd get to this point where I start running out of things to say for Super Metroid that haven't already been said. So, let's talk about my life, I guess. Well, as you know, I have a new job. It's pretty good. Trying to work towards getting full-time in it, though, but my hours, they can either be pretty good or pretty mediocre. It just depends. I know, for example, I'm working 33 and a half hours this week, but then they got me down to like 22. So it's making me question, like, what kind of, like, secondary job I need to get alongside that. Which kind of blows, but, eh. Such as retail, I guess. Because, like, the place I'm working at is actually, like, a really good, like, retail store, too. I don't know if anybody here in Florida has heard of Publix or not. But, yeah. That is a job I've been trying to get into for so many years, like, since I've been in high school. I'm 23 for the record. And, to just now finally get that job, when, you know, I could have used it at an earlier period of my life. It's like, god dang it, why did this have to happen now? But then at the same time, it's like, well, thank God it happened. I didn't think I'd ever get the job. So damn picky about their associates, and it only took me to get, like, so many years of retail over at Walmart to finally, like, be able to say, hey, I have the integrity to go and do this shit for you guys. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of an unfortunate thing about getting jobs these days too, because, like, I didn't even start getting, like, work until I was, like, 18. And, like, it's just because, like, the job market, like, especially where I used to live, because I live now in a completely different area than I did growing up for the first 18 years of my life. Like, you know, I lived in a pretty small town, and I remember, like, literally searching the whole town just to try to get a job, and I couldn't because I had no experience. And now I'm, like, at that point where I do have places kind of calling me every now and then for positions, and it's really, really making me wish I had these kind of opportunities open up to me earlier in life. I don't know. But yeah, the job market sucks. I get that, you know, having the experience certainly helps. You know, I get that having the experience helps in order to have you stand out from your competitors, but, like, You know, for an entry-level job, that shouldn't be so much of a big defining factor in whether or not you do get the job, you know? Absolutely sucks. But hey, I'd like to say I'm in a better position in life right now than I was last year, as indicated by me uploading next to nothing on this channel since then. Yeah, did I upload any videos in 2016 now that I think about it? Jesus. Anywho, boss fight, Ridley. Ridley is a gigantic tank. It's something you want to build up plenty of super missiles for. Uh, he's pretty much weak area. He doesn't... That was worded so incorrectly. My apologies. He doesn't really have a weak spot like any other boss in this game. You basically just want to avoid hitting the tail because that's impervious for whatever reason. I think like his body and tail are like two separate entities altogether for some reason. Like it's got like different damage values and everything. Screw attacking certainly helps in this fight because it helps give you invincibility frames against those projectiles. But yeah, you want to spend most of your fight aerial because if you stay grounded too much, Ridley's going to jump in and snag you, and you're not going to have a whole lot of room to avoid what he's doing. And oh my lord, I remember dying to this boss so many times on my first playthrough. I think on my first playthrough of this game, I only had like 7 energy tanks fighting Ridley. And this dude kicked my ass. It's such a long, drawn-out fight that anybody who says this is easy, it's like... Well, I mean, it's easy to me now, but like... Anybody who says they grew up on this game and says it was easy, it's like... You're just straight up lying. Like, I'm sorry. Just a really tanky-ass boss fight. Oh god. And... Oh Jesus. Me and my big mouth. I feel like I'm playing this a bit too passively. Thank God for reserve tanks. Oh wow, I only had 3? Will you just die already? Jesus. Tanky ass boss. My blood pressure rose up to extremely high levels on those last moments. And it's funny too, because most of the time when I kill Ridley, he always grabs onto my head before dying, and then he dies. As if it were some kind of desperation attack or something. But yeah, that's the first time in a long while he just flat out exploded on me. I guess it's just the LPer curse then. Like, I just played that fight really poorly. But yeah, as you can see here, yeah. Looks like the baby Metroid was long gone before we even got to this point. So, yeah, looks like we're going to have to look elsewhere. But thankfully not too far off from here because, yeah, we have all 4 of the main Guardian bosses defeated and wiped out. So, we now have access to the last area in the game. But as usual, well, by as usual, I mean something that was established in this game and every other game onwards. We have to go for in-game collectathon, and thankfully it's not nearly as bad as its future sequels, as we'll be seeing and mentioning when we get to Metroid Fusion and Zero Mission eventually, but yeah, it'll literally only take us like one video to take care of all of the rest of the expansions in the game. So, anywho, not really too much else to say other than the fact that we really need to get the hell out of this place. And funny enough, though, when I first tried to find a route to get out of Kraid's lair, well, not Kraid, but Ridley's lair, I took the route that was filled with lava, with no knowledge of the fact that there's actually a different route you can take altogether to not only grab a few expansions, but it's just a faster route out of Norfair altogether. So I'm gonna be taking that path. Hooray! 2 videos in a day. I didn't think I'd reach that milestone in a while, especially with how slow this playthrough's been going. But anywho, next time and let's play Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. We're gonna clean up the rest of Planet Zebes for its expansions and head off to the final area of the game. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys then.